Hello, welcome everyone to today's webinar presentation. My name is Nicole and I am the business development person at IT Matters Inc. We are more than just a technology company here in Houston. In today's webinar, we will discuss the importance of multi-factor authentication, also known as MFA. We will also discuss how to create strong, complex passwords and why MFA is a great approach to password management. So let's dive right in. Compared to 10 years ago, most companies now employ stronger cybersecurity, but our society is still a long way from being completely impenetrable. Some industry experts believe we'll never be able to fully stop all breaches from occurring. The reasons for this vary, but the most logical line of thinking is that technology is evolving at a constant rate. With each new invention, we open another window that cybercriminals can climb through. Every new convenience we gain through technology is another potential vulnerability just waiting to be exploited. So while the application of a given cybersecurity solution here and there can help increase defensive capabilities, this piecemeal approach is generally insufficient. And, at the core of so many cybersecurity vulnerabilities is poor password management. Maintaining strong and complex passwords may sound easy in theory, but in reality, most users opt for easy to remember passwords instead. Multi-factor authentication, or MFA, is a great way to overcome the user's resistance to maintaining strong passwords while still ensuring adequate standards of cybersecurity. Passwords protect email accounts, banking information, private documents, administrator rights, and more. And yet, user after user continue to make critical errors when it comes to choosing and protecting their passwords. Even though passwords are the most direct way to access a user's private information, most passwords in use today are simply not strong or complex enough. All right, so to be fair to users, there's a lot to keep in mind when choosing a password, such as length and complexity. Keep in mind, if it's easy for you to remember, it's easy for a hacker to figure it out also. That's why short and simple passwords are so common. Users worry about forgetting them, so they make passwords easy to remember, which creates an easy target for hackers. The longer and more complex your password, the harder it is for a hacker to crack. Most platforms require a minimum of 8 characters, but experts are now suggesting using a minimum of 24 characters. You should also look at numbers, symbols, and case sensitivity. In order for a password to be complex and harder for hackers to figure out, it's important to add numbers and symbols. It is equally important to mix in some capital letters as well. So while it may be easier to remember a password that is all lowercase letters, it's important to mix it up with some uppercase letters, numbers, and characters to increase the complexity of the password. Also, don't use personal information or patterns. Everything you could possibly want to know about someone can be found on social media platforms. Using personal information such as your birthday, your pet's name, your mother's maiden name, your favorite football team, all that is no longer a good idea. So avoid using personal identifiers. Like other common mistakes, many people use patterns as passwords as well. So for example, ABC123 or the first row of letters on the keyboard, QWERTY. These may be easy to remember, but is also easy for hackers to guess. In the end, creating and using strong passwords can be frustrating, but the more difficult they are to remember, the more secure they are. MFA is a superior way to keep your data more secure. After all, it blocks 99.9% of identity-based attacks. Furthermore, Microsoft stated that 99.9% of the accounts that are compromised each month do not have an MFA solution enabled. In fact, MFAs have resulted in a 67% reduction in breaches. Microsoft requires users to use MFA through their built-in feature called the Microsoft Authenticator. MFA requires the user to utilize 2 methods to confirm that they are the rightful account owner. There are 3 categories of information that can be used in this process. The first is something you have. So that includes like a mobile phone with an app or a generated code that gets text messaged to you. The next is something you know. A family member's name, city of birth, a PIN, or a phrase. And the third is something you are, which includes fingerprints and facial recognition data. So what are some other benefits of an MFA solution? One is bring your own device. In today's modern business world, more and more employees prefer to do at least some of their work through their mobile devices, which can present a serious security risk. However, with an MFA solution, you can enroll new employee devices in minutes, given that there's no need to install an endpoint agent. Also, it's convenient and there's flexibility. An MFA solution won't force you to apply the same security policies to every user in the company. Instead, you are given the capability to specify policies person by person or group by group. So why is MFA so popular these days anyway? If you've hesitated to enable MFA for your accounts because it seems too complicated for everyday use, you should know that the benefits greatly outweigh the perceived annoyance. It's an extra layer of security. The protection that MFA adds allows you to use your passwords for a longer length of time between password resets. And who really likes password resets? In the event that your service provider is compromised and your email and password end up in an open database on the open web, you will have time to change your password before your individual account is compromised. So how does a multi-factor authentication solution actually work? So first, the user logs in with their primary credentials. Then the session host validates credentials with Active Directory. Then it sends credential validation to the cloud via the login app. The MFA client sends its secondary authentication to the user. The MFA client sends approval back to the session host via the login app, and the user accesses their session very securely. Even though MFA makes it harder for the account owner to access their account, it also makes it more difficult for cyber thieves to learn your password. Their job becomes much tougher because they need to do more than just hack your password. They'll need personal information about the account owner. With so many other accounts that are too easy to break into, hackers are more likely to just move on instead of trying to break through the MFA process. Just because you use MFA does not mean you can overlook password security. Despite the fact that passwords are the most direct way to access a user's private information, most passwords in use today are not considered to be strong or complex enough. And even if they aren't updated often enough. Case in point, 57% of the people who have already been scammed in phishing attacks still haven't changed their passwords. And 71% of accounts are protected by passwords used on multiple websites. Even with MFA, you need to be sure your passwords are strong and complex. Here are 2 tips for doing so. Number 1, use complex passwords. As we pointed out earlier, long and complex passwords work best. You can also consider using a passphrase, which is when you combine multiple words into one long string of characters instead of a password. So, for example, Goldie Little Lamb 3 Pigs. Number 2, manage your passwords. You don't have to worry about remembering complex passwords so long as you manage them properly by doing the following. You can update your passwords. Change your passwords on a regular basis. It's as simple as that, like doing laundry. Use a password manager. A password manager generates, keeps track of, and retrieves complex and long passwords for you to protect your vital online information. It also remembers your PINs, credit card numbers, and 3-digit CVV codes if you choose this option. Plus, it provides answers to security questions for you. All of this is done with strong encryption that makes it difficult for hackers to decipher. IT Matters will help protect your data. If you're unsure about how to implement an MFA solution, don't try to handle it all on your own. IT Matters will help you evaluate your password practices and security measures as a whole to make sure you're not taking on any unnecessary risks. We will guide you in implementing MFA for your entire staff, ensuring your data is properly protected. At this time, I would like to thank all of you for being part of this, and I hope everyone enjoyed this webinar and found it informative. IT Matters can help you utilize technology to its fullest potential while working with you to keep your sensitive data safe. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. You can visit our website at www.itmattersinc.com or simply give us a call at 281-280-8888. 8500. And remember, whatever IT takes. Why? Because IT matters. Have a great day, everybody.